Welcome to Sheep Suit, the home of grazable Christian thought. Today's brain graze: I wish church was politics free. During a brief span of years, I visited two churches, each among the more conservative denominations, and I saw things that I just thought were kind of weird for church. Well, I visited more than two churches, but I'm talking about two particular churches right now. At one church, a church I was just visiting for the first time, they, for some reason, had projected an image of a wing of stealth fighter planes on their front screen before the service started. These were the old, original generation stealth fighters that were very angular. I think 4 airplanes is a wing. Okay? I've never been in the Air Force, but there were 3 or 4 of them flying in formation, and they were the old stealth fighters, and they're very cool, but I wondered, why is this being projected on a wall in a church? These are weapons of war. And during the church, somebody, some leader, I assume, mentioned publicly some remark about the sin of criticizing President Trump. Okay. Later during the pandemic, when churches weren't filling up with people, I was watching the online feed from a church that I had attended on and off in a neighborhood where I used to live. And the service started with a, quote, call to worship, unquote, as church assemblies often do. And the call to worship was the church guitar guy, the worship leader, guitar strummer, just reading off a list of accusations against President Trump shortly after the January 6th fiasco. That was supposed to be a call to worship. Now, we're supposed to pray for our leaders, whether we like them or not. I practically never do this. And I don't think I've ever prayed for the current President of the United States. I don't particularly like him, but that's not an excuse to not pray for him. I wish there was more praying for our leaders in churches, maybe even by name. But this isn't about politics, but just a question: when did it become appropriate to do any of this stuff during a Christian assembly? When is it okay to display pictures of military weapons, as cool as they can be, just for the sake of displaying them during a Christian assembly? When did it become a sin to criticize a president? When did it become okay to read off a list of accusations against anyone, including a sitting president, and call that a call to worship? I remember when things like these just weren't done. Not in my experience of many years of church attendance. Why do so many church leaders these days think their churches are the place to force their politics on their congregations? I think churches should be neutral zones in the political wars, because politics is about this world and the church should be focused on preparing for the next world. And as I said, these churches I described were among the more conservative denominations. These churches are where Jesus and the Bible were still supposed to be the center of the church. But now it seems that even these conservative churches have a new generation of, quote, leaders, unquote, who cannot discipline themselves, who cannot keep the world out of the church, or at least keep their own opinions of how the world should be out of the place where the world and its power struggles should matter the least. We Christians are supposed to know that life doesn't end with this world. We're supposed to be in the world, but not of the world. Politics in church makes the church about the world, but it provides a great shortcut to fleeting relevancy for professional Christians who have a business to run. It seems that so many churches are just political organizations led by politicians in the guise of clergy or pastors, leaders. These politicians would rather control 100 or 200 people continually every week and tax them through, quote, tithes and offerings, unquote, rather than persuade thousands or millions to vote for them every 2, 4, or 6 years and then tax them through government taxes. But they're still just politicians. Something to think about, maybe. That's all for now. keep the wool out of your eyes.